Hello and welcome back to Citizen Speak. I'm your host, Garrett Martin. Thank you so much for listening today. Now, since the Planned Parenthood attack over the weekend, actually on Friday, happened, there's been a lot of criticism towards the GOP party and its candidates for the rhetoric that they have been spewing about how evil Planned Parenthood is and how awful abortion is. And there is some truth to it. I do agree that from the talks that the candidates have been going over and from what the conservative news media has been saying over the years, have increased attacks over time. They have provoked people into taking action on their own and going to do things. Now, you'll hear people like Bill O'Reilly either later today or over the week say, no, it's not the GOP, it's not the conservative media that's forcing these crazies to do it. It's the liberals, and they're constant making this an issue. Well, when there's people who are dying, this is going to be an issue. So you have people like Ted Cruz and Donald Trump and Carly Fiorina and the other GOP candidates, just this cycle alone, who insist on saying that Planned Parenthood is making money off of selling the body parts of the fetuses from abortions, and that's simply not true. There is money exchanged, but it's actually just to recoup the cost of shipment, and it's actually more of a donation than anything. They're donating it to science. They're not selling it off on the black market for somebody to have in a vial or something like that in their house. They're not making money off of these parts that they're selling. And most of the time they're selling intact fetuses. And it's not that they're hacking things up or anything like that. And during one of the GOP debates, Carly Fiorina, she said, go back and watch that video. You'll see a fetus lying on the table and it's still moving. It's still alive. Well, actually, that was a heavily edited video, and it wasn't from a Planned Parenthood. So you have somebody like Robert Louis Deere who goes out and commits these heinous crimes, and he even admits that it is partly fueled by politics. And one of his statements that he had said was, no more baby parts. Now, Fox News refused to say no more baby parts. They say no more body parts. And what it is their talks over the years have made quite a few attacks. There's been murders of abortion providers. There's been arsons and bombing and other crimes committed on Planned Parenthood alone. You have back from May 26, 1983, where Joseph Grace set the Hillcrest Clinic in Norfolk, Virginia on fire. And then this year alone, in 2015, there's 3 attacks where there's either arson or bombing. And one's in Pullman, Washington, the other one's in Thousand Oaks, California, and the other one is in Claremont, New Hampshire. And these are being vandalized, they're being set on fire. There's people who stand outside the abortion clinics and they shame the women into not having abortions or not even going into the Planned Parenthood alone. Planned Parenthood, for the most part, when they do abortions, it's actually a very small number that they do compared to all the other services that they're doing as well. Most of their services are actually family planning. That's what the whole organization is set for. But they do provide that service of abortion when there are people who go out and they have unprotected sex and they have unplanned pregnancies, or maybe their health is at risk and so they need to have an abortion. There's cases after cases where they listen to this conservative media that we have nowadays, and it's just this acidic thing that keeps burrowing into their mind, and they go out and they commit these crimes. They go out and they shoot up a Planned Parenthood, or they set it on fire. And you even have the gall of Ted Cruz, who says that Robert Deere is actually a transgendered leftist, and that's actually why he attacked the Planned Parenthood. That's completely false. If you believe any instance of his speech right there, you're an idiot. The reason why he's saying that Robert Deere is a transgendered man is because there was a mistake made on Robert Deere's voter registration card that actually lists him as a female. It doesn't mean that he registered as a female, and it's clearly a mistake, but yet it's that tiny little mistake that Ted Cruz is going to use to try to put poison in the ears of the American people. Do we really want somebody like that as president? Do we really want somebody like Carly Fiorina, who says go back and watch this video that actually doesn't hold any water at all and is highly edited? Go back and watch that and you get angry about this. Or do we want a president who's actually going to use facts? Do we want a president who's going to lead our country and who's going to not only tell us the facts, but explain things to us as well, instead of just spouting fear and anger at us like Carly Fiorina, Ted Cruz, and Donald Trump have been doing? It's absolutely ridiculous. And attacks like this will not stop because the conservative media is going to continue to put out this poison to the people. And it doesn't matter if you're at a Thanksgiving dinner or a family get-together or talking with friends online. You see what they're listening to and you hear what they're listening to because they repeat it almost verbatim. There's zero thinking going on when there's people watching these conservative news media outlets. They just go, oh, okay, Brett Baer, yep, you're saying it's bad. Why? Let me write this down so that way I can remember it and say it at my next family function or say it on my next online argument. Oh, Bill O'Reilly, Ted Cruz is right and everybody else is wrong and abortion is horrible. Well, tell me why from your tiny little perspective. Why? And so that way I don't have to look anywhere else or do any critical thinking whatsoever. Let me do that. You know, anybody who listens to this show, I really encourage you to go out there and look up facts for yourself. You know, if I'm wrong on something, you let me know. But if Bill O'Reilly is wrong, he doesn't care. Ted Cruz is wrong, he doesn't care. If you have a different opinion than them, they don't care whatsoever. They just want that money that you're going to give them. That's it. There's nothing more to it. You have these super PACs who are running these elections, and they're making candidates come up that have no concept of what the American people really want. We know that no one likes abortion. However, we also know that at this current stage in human history, we have to have abortion because there's so many people out there who don't know about comprehensive sexual education. There's so many schools out there who are teaching abstinence-only sexual education. And as a result, those schools have higher pregnancy rates. Those communities have higher pregnancy rates. But if you look at the schools or the communities or the states or even countries that have comprehensive sexual education, they actually have less unplanned pregnancies, and as a result, they have less abortions. But if you look at the states or countries that have limited abortion or the countries who have banned abortion, they actually have higher abortion rates. Because what happens is you don't just get rid of abortion when you ban abortion. You're actually limiting comprehensive sexual education. You're limiting education for people. And what happens with that? You increase abortions. You increase how much unplanned pregnancies there are. And I'm not picking on Christians here, but if you look at Christian communities or Christian schools that have only abstinence sexual education, their pregnancy rates are through the roof compared to communities that have comprehensive sexual education. And it's a no-brainer. You teach people about condoms and birth control and ways to have safe sex and prevent pregnancies, well, you're going to have less pregnancies. But if you take that information away from people, then you're going to have more pregnancies, more abortions. That's what happens. And I get it. You could hate abortions 100%, think that they have no place in our society whatsoever. But if you outright ban them, you have to know that that's actually going to increase abortions. It's not going to decrease them. Look at Texas, for example. Since their 2013 bill that they had passed, or 2014, their abortions have actually gone up for at-home abortions. And what that means is you have more women putting themselves at risk because they're having these at-home abortions, whether they're taking chemicals or trying to inflict bodily harm upon themselves to cause a early birth. That's what happens. You increase the death of women, and you increase the likelihood that those babies that are going to be born still are going to have more mental or physical damage to them when they come out. It's not hard to see this. There's so many facts on Texas alone, who's just started to enact the more extreme measures to limit abortion because they can't outright ban it. So they have to go, oh, well, if you don't have a hallway that's a certain size, then you can't have abortions in this clinic. Or if you don't have this certain pamphlet that's stocked all the time, sorry, you can't have abortions until that person gets that information. Or if you don't have such a long waiting period where it might actually time a woman out until where she can have an abortion, or say that she has to come back, she might not be able to come back. There's so many women who will try to have an abortion, and they'll go out and they'll talk to the clinic and they get things set up, and then the clinic goes, hey, actually our state or our community, we have a so-and-so waiting period, so you'll actually have to come back in a week or two, or even 3 weeks in some cases. And then what happens is these women, they don't have money to come back and take time off of work and go into a clinic and try to have an abortion again. They've made time on this day for this. They get the pamphlets, they read through them. This isn't a decision that people make lightly. And I think that's really what the conservative media and conservatives get wrong, is that they think that women just go out and go, oh yeah, I'm pregnant, I'll go have an abortion today. That's completely not the case at all. There's not women out there might be a couple who have a mental illness and just want to have abortions to have abortions time and time again instead of having safe sex. But for the most part, you don't have women who are going out just to have unprotected sex, get pregnant, and then have abortions. That's a very untypical case, and it's very rare at that. So when women have abortions, it's not something that's taken lightly. It's not something that people just go, oh yeah, well, I'm pregnant, so I'm just gonna go flush it out today. That's completely not the case. And I understand that, there's some women out there who had thought about abortion and then they decided against it. And, that was the choice that they had made. But that's not a choice that you get to take away for other people. It's not a choice that you get to take away for other people at all. Just because you didn't choose to do something or you were told that it was wrong, it doesn't mean that it's a choice that you get to take away from other people. The choice that you get to do is help influence the sexual education that's taught in schools or taught in the communities. That's how you get to influence things. If you don't like abortion, that's how you get to get rid of it, or at least limit it down as much as possible. That's what you get to do in your lifetime. You get to make sure that people know that sex is a great thing, and that if you do have it and you're not planning for a child, you need to be using birth control. But you also need to be ready for consequences that could happen afterwards. If you don't like abortion, that's what you need to be doing. You don't need to be out there trying to get abortion outlawed whatsoever. And if you don't agree with that, then you need to look up more statistics. You need to look up more facts. And if you don't agree with me, that's completely fine. I am A-okay with people not agreeing with me. But I want people to ask questions. If you're not asking questions, then you're wrong. And it doesn't even matter if you do agree with me. You need to be asking questions. Now, one of the other things with the Planned Parenthood attack is with Robert Deere. He had mentioned that he had a strong hatred for President Obama. Well, who else has strong hatred for President Obama? The conservative media. It doesn't matter if President Obama does exactly what they want. It's still never good enough. It's never good enough whatsoever. And that's one thing that always boggles my mind is, with the GOP, if any candidate is doing a good job, I'm going to say it. I'm not going to withhold it. Ted Cruz, he has done a good job going from way back in the pack up to number 2 in Iowa. He's done great, but the only reason that he's done great is not because he said anything prolific or really empowering. It's that, Ben Carson has become a complete idiot. Well, people have finally seeing that he's a complete idiot. Nothing more than that. So, what it comes down to for this whole podcast on this session is do your research. If you're anti-abortion, what are you doing to help limit abortions? Are you going out there and trying to take the choice right away? If you're, if you think that abortion should be legal, are you fighting for comprehensive sex ed in the classrooms, or helping communities in your area learn about this comprehensive sex ed, or donating money to programs that do put that information out there? You can't just have your head in the sand. There is so much misinformation out there nowadays that people, they see it on the internet or they hear it on their media and they go, oh, yep, that's exactly what I need to think. I can't think anything different, so this is exactly what I'm going to do. I'm just going to follow this and never look anywhere else. Challenge yourself to do more. Challenge yourself to do better. And with the GOP candidates, they have been spewing out a lot of hate and anger, but it's not specifically these GOP candidates to blame. It's not specifically the current broadcasters that are on TV now. This information has been put out there for a long time now. This hatred has been going out against abortion for a very long time. It's fueled people to act on their dark, deep desires. They're not just going out there and doing these attacks because, they just think it, so they do it. No, they're being told over and over and over again that these clinics that provide this service to women are wrong, and that people need to be punished, and that, the cops aren't going to do anything, or your politicians aren't going to do anything, but I think somebody should do something. That's the talk that's coming from the GOP. And we, as a people, need to come together and say, cut it out. Because the more that they continue this hateful rhetoric, the more attacks that are going to happen. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Find me on Twitter at SitSpeak, that's CITZ Speak. Thank you so much for listening today, and I truly mean it. I do want to hear from you. If you agree with me, great. If not, that's okay too. But let me know what you think. You guys have a great rest of the day. Bye.